The quiet in my house was the kind of silence that made you listen harder, too hard. I sat on the couch, the soft hum of the air conditioner blending with the dull tap of rain against the window. The project was due Monday, and I was supposed to be finishing a report, but instead, I let my mind wander. That's when the doorbell shattered the calm. I didn't expect anyone. It was just past 6 on a Tuesday, the kind of evening that should have been mine. I pressed the button on the intercom. "Who is it?" "Greg." The voice was rough, almost unfamiliar. I froze. Greg wasn't a neighbor, not someone I'd planned to see. I said, voice tighter than I wanted, "Greg, who?" There was a pause, then, "Greg Harper." From work, that name, Harper, sent a ripple through me. The guy I wanted nowhere near my life. The last time Greg Harper had come around, things had spiraled. Quiet sabotage at first, misplaced files, wrong figures in reports, small enough to be accidents. But over the past month, it got worse. I'd found my work undermined at every turn, whispers of my incompetence floating in the office, and just enough evidence to keep me worried, but not enough to fight back. Greg was like a shadow, following, watching, or maybe waiting. I checked the peephole. The man outside was tall, his jacket soaked through, the kind of guy who could slip into a crowd unnoticed, but not in my house. I didn't open the door. "I'm busy," I said, but the intercom clicked off. He was already at the door. I unlocked and opened it a crack. Greg pushed inside before I could stop him, his eyes darting past me, sizing the place up. "What do you want?" I kept my voice low, steady. "Need to talk," he said, voice tight. "Not at the office. Not with others listening." His presence filled the room, and I felt that old knot tighten in my gut. We had history, complicated, dangerous if I wasn't careful. Back then, things had started innocently enough. Greg was the new guy at work, ambitious, slick. We'd bumped into each other at meetings, barely speaking beyond business. Then one night after work, I got a call that changed everything. Greg was drowning in debt, gambling debts, the kind that don't forgive easily. I'd slipped him a few bucks, once or twice, no strings, just to help a coworker out. But that help twisted into a trap. Greg's debts grew, and so did his need for money fast. I was the only one who could get him cash. At least, that's what he made me think. The favors turned to demands, the demands to threats. The line blurred. What was work? What was personal? I didn't want to believe I was part of his problem, but here he was. Standing in my living room like a storm I hadn't seen coming. He sat on the couch like he owned the place. "Look, I'm sorry about the mess at work. It wasn't me trying to screw you." His eyes searched mine, trying to prove it, but I had proof. Last week, my files on the Jenkins account had vanished. Greg had the only keycard that accessed my office after hours. Coincidence? No. I kept my voice calm. "You didn't want to screw me. Then why does every project I touch fall apart?" Greg shrugged, a tired, defeated gesture. "I'm in deep, man, and you owe me. Big time." That hit me. The debt, the unpaid favors, the creeping feeling that I'd been a sucker all along. I looked away, my fingers tightening into a fist. Greg needed something from me. Money, maybe access, maybe just my silence. And if I gave in, I'd lose everything. But the thing about people like Greg, they don't get to decide the ending. Over the last week, I'd been watching him slip into the office late at night, watching his phone light up with messages from unknown numbers, watching him leave files open, hurried notes scattered on his desk. I wasn't blind. I wasn't helpless. I'd planned for this, quietly, methodically. I reached under the coffee table and pulled out a recorder, something I never used unless I needed to prove a point. I tapped it on, and a red light blinked. Greg's eyes flicked to it, but he didn't move. That's when I spoke. "Let's get something straight. You came here thinking you could push me around, use me for your debts, your schemes." Greg laughed, a bitter sound. "You don't get it? I'm stuck. I'm out of options." "Options?" I stood up. "You had your options. You chose to sabotage me. You chose to screw with my career." He leaned forward, a dangerous glint in his eyes. "So what? What are you going to do about it?" I pressed play on my phone, and the voice came through clear. The muffled conversations, the late-night calls where Greg talked about ruining Tanvir and making him pay. It wasn't much, but enough to hold over his head. Greg's face changed. No more cocky, no more threatening, just the cold weight of being caught. "You don't want this," he said quietly. "No, I want my life back," I said, "and I want you to fix the damage you did." He stood, defeated. "What do you want from me?" I slid a folder across the table. It was full of numbers, accounts, invoices, proof of the sabotage, and what it cost me. "Repayment," I said. "Not just money, but you clean this up. You fix what you broke, and then you disappear." Greg looked down at the folder. He nodded, slow but sure. As he left, the air seemed to clear. The storm passed. For now, I closed the door behind him and locked it twice. The debt was still there, but so was the plan. I sat back down, the house finally quiet again, the rain easing outside, and I knew this wasn't over. Not by a long shot, but I was ready. The door stayed locked.